right, welcome phlebotomy students. In this review, we're going to boil down all the critical stuff you need to know so you can walk into your certification exam feeling totally confident. We're going to hit exactly what you need to focus on.
Okay, let's kick things off with a really important number for your profession, 70 to 80%. This one stat pretty much sums up the huge value you bring to the table in healthcare. But what does it actually mean?
That's your impact. Think about it. The vast majority of diagnoses, treatment plans, even medication changes, they all hinge on the quality of the specimen you collect. The accuracy of modern medicine? It literally starts at the tip of your needle. That's a huge responsibility. So here's what we're covering. We've got 6 key areas to get through, from the history of phlebotomy all the way to your career. And the whole time, we're going to be laser focused on what you absolutely have to know for that exam.
First up, it's actually super important for your exam to get how phlebotomy has changed over time. And no, this isn't just a boring history lesson. Understanding where we came from really helps you appreciate why we have such strict, science-based rules today.
The history of phlebotomy is pretty wild. It goes all the way back to ancient rituals and, those unsterile practices by barber surgeons. But the real game changer was in 1628. That's when William Harvey discovered how blood circulates. That discovery started this long, slow shift away from bloodletting as a cure-all and moved us toward what we do today, diagnostics.
Okay, this slide right here breaks down a difference that you'll almost certainly see on your exam. In the past, phlebotomy was therapeutic. It was meant to treat something. And honestly, it was often pretty dangerous. But today, it's almost entirely diagnostic. The whole point now is to safely gather information, all based on solid science.
So here's the bottom line, and you'll want to remember this. If you get an exam question asking about the main role of a phlebotomist today, the answer is always diagnostic. This is a huge concept from the NHA materials, so really lock this one in.
Now, even though diagnostics is the main game, there are a few exceptions. Therapeutic phlebotomy is still a thing, but only as a prescribed medical treatment for some really specific conditions like the ones you see here. For your test, just know that these are the rare exceptions, not the everyday rule.
Okay, let's get into the rule book. These are the absolute non-negotiables, the standards you'll live by every day. And mastering this stuff, it's not just about passing an exam. It's about keeping your patients and yourself safe with every single draw.
So, a few key organizations guide everything we do. For the exam, a good trick is to connect each one with its main job. Think OSHA, think safety, think CLSI, think procedure, especially the order of draw. And the CDC, that's all about infection control. Just knowing who's in charge of which rule is a big help.
All right, quick question. Before you even think about uncapping a needle or putting on a tourniquet, what is the single most important thing you have to do? Every single time. No exceptions.
And there's the answer. It's the right answer every single time on the exam and on the job. You always have to confirm the patient's identity using at least 2 identifiers. So you're asking for their full name and date of birth, and you're matching it against the paperwork. This is the firewall. This is what stops catastrophic mistakes from happening.
Think of these steps as your workflow, right? Each one is a crucial link in the chain of patient safety. If you mess up any step, from that first ID to picking the right tubes in the right order, you risk compromising the entire result. And pay extra close attention to number 5, labeling every single tube right there at the bedside before you walk away.
Okay, so knowing the rules is great, but knowing how to dodge the most common mistakes, that's what really makes you a pro. This next part is all about stopping errors before that sample even gets close to the lab.
What this really means is that you have the biggest impact on the quality of the lab results. I mean, the lab can have all this fancy multi-million-dollar equipment, but it can only test what you give it. You are literally the guardian of that specimen's quality.
Now, take a look at this list. Misidentifying a patient, hemolysis, using the wrong tube, not mixing it right. What do they all have in common? Pretty much every single one of these critical errors can be completely prevented just by carefully following the correct procedure. Okay, if you take away only one thing from this section, let it be this. Misidentification and labeling errors are the #1 cause of mistakes in the lab, and it's a huge focus on your exam. A sample with the wrong name on it isn't just worthless, it's dangerous. It could lead to a really terrible misdiagnosis.
Your job isn't just technical. You're dealing with a real person who might be scared or in pain or just really anxious. How you handle that,
Your professionalism, your calm attitude, your respect, it has a direct impact on their trust, how well they cooperate, and ultimately, their safety.
These 4 ethical principles, they're basically your guideposts for making decisions. For the exam, you'll probably see scenario-based questions about them. So, for instance, if a patient refuses to have their blood drawn, and you calmly accept that, well, that's a perfect example of respecting their autonomy.
And this right here really drives home just how important informed consent is, both legally and ethically. It's not just about being polite. The law says you have to explain what you're about to do and get the patient's permission before you can even touch them.
All right, here's a classic situation you could definitely face, both on the job and on your exam. So what do you do here? How do you handle this and still make sure you have accurate communication and protect the patient's confidentiality? The right answer is always to use a professional, certified medical interpreter. Why? Well, family members, especially kids, can easily misunderstand complex medical terms. Plus, using them completely compromises the patient's legal right to privacy.
Okay, let's wrap this up by talking about the final steps on your journey. Getting these terms straight is super important, not just for your career, but also for answering some very specific questions you'll see on the exam.
You really have to get the difference between these two. Certification, that's a national credential. It proves you have the skills. Licensure, on the other hand, is a state-issued legal permission to work. And while certification is technically voluntary, let's be real, pretty much every employer requires it. Licensure is mandatory, but only in a few specific states.
So, for your exam, you should probably be able to name these 4 states that require a license. Now, this list is good as of 2025, but you should always double-check the rules for your own state before you start looking for a job. Now, there are few agencies that offer certification, but these 3 are some of the most widely recognized. And the NHA's CPT, the Certified Phlebotomy Technician, is by far the most common one that employers are looking for these days. And here's one last, really critical point. A certificate of completion is not the same as being certified. The certificate is just what your school gives you when you finish your classes. Your certification is the professional credential you earn after you pass that big national exam. They are not the same thing, so don't get them mixed up.
So as we wrap up, I want to leave you with this thought. Mastering the technical skills, that's one thing. But being able to consistently combine those skills with perfect safety procedures and true professionalism, especially when you're busy or feeling stressed, that's what really makes an excellent phlebotomist. We wish you the very best of luck with your studies and on your exam.